vintage sand.
Hello, hello, hello! Just hear those sleigh bells jing and go ring, ring, ring. Yes, it is a holiday episode. It is December, it is 2021, and it is episode 35. 35, my goodness, fellas, of Vintage Sand, your film history podcast. For those of you out there, we're so glad to be here, and by we, I mean, of course, the legendary John Meyer. Say hello to the nice people, Johnny.
Hello, people.
See, there you go.
All 8 of you.
All 8. No, we're moving up in the world. We started out with 3. Minnesota Mike Edmond.
Hi there.
You betcha. I just watched Fargo, so I was thinking of Mike. And yours truly, your humble narrator, Josh Cabot. And for episode 35, we are reaching back into one of our favorite sources. That would be the very solid 80s and 90s film critic Danny Peary. Our favorite book of his, although he did many good books, is his book Alternate Oscars. And if you are steady listeners of ours, you will know that we have already done episodes on what we think should have won in the 1950s, in the 1970s, in the 1980s, and in the 2000s. So this time we thought we'd challenge ourselves for the holidays and go all the way back to the very first decade where we have a full set of Oscars. And that, of course, is the 1930s, the Oscars being first given out in 1928. So welcome to Vintage Sand, episode 35, Alternate Oscars, the 1930s edition. I'm very excited about this one. And of course, we were just talking about this before. Should we just end the episode and give it to Jean Renoir every year?
Well, that would be an easy way to do it.
I don't know if a director ever owned a decade as much. It was so far ahead of everybody else. I mean, and his name is going to come up a few times, I think, all the way through. I was just thinking, have you guys seen the one he did in 38, La Bête Humaine, The Human Beast?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's really good.
It's brilliant, and it's totally forgotten because it comes between two of
his two most
25 greatest films ever made. Mm-hmm. And, so that's Jean Renoir. And then, of course, he comes to America in the 40s, and the rest of his career is so interesting. But that is another episode. We have to do a Jean Renoir episode. So, and I was also thinking, that the 30s are really two different decades. There's pre-code 30s, and then there's post-code 30s, where things get very, very different. So we might have some interesting changes coming around 1934, 1935. I think what's going to make this fun, and it always does, is that I think we all agreed that they got it right precisely 1 year. I think we're all agreed maybe on that, and that's coming up right away. But some of the most atrocious, underseen, for a good reason, movies won Best Picture Oscars in the 30s. Anyone seen Cimarron? Anyone seen Cavalcade? Anyone seen The Great Ziegfeld? Anyone seen The Life of Emile Zola? Or even You Can't Take It With You, which is fine, but
I do not like You Can't Take It With You.
No, I don't either. And honestly, I don't love Gone with the Wind. There, I said it.
I don't either.
I don't think even Wizard of Oz is going to win for us this year. I think that year. I
would have given it to Wizard of Oz over Gone with the Wind.
Of the nominees.
And of course, now Gone with the Wind, given the current, changes in political climate and awareness, is almost unwatchable.
But even when I first, when I first saw it, I thought, gee, there's some really awful acting in this.
Yeah,
it's split. There's some bad acting and
some
really good
one,
acting. Yeah. It's really kind of split. And I remember when I first saw it, I did like it a lot, but I was, I think, 14.
Yeah, that's when I saw it.
I think it was 14 when I saw it, and plus the fact there was such a build-up. I kept hearing about that movie from the time I was a little kid. You have to see it, you have to see it, you have to see it. And then when I finally saw it, this is really good. But there was something about it that just didn't sit right with me. I was like, wait a minute, but they're the Confederate soldiers, they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Leslie Howard is supposed to be an object of desire.
That was a big problem.
That was the will.
The wooden, he's like wooden in it.
Hello? I mean, they have to keep him away from open flame for the entire movie. He'll go right up. The one thing I do, when I teach film class, the one thing I do with Gone with the Wind is the crane shot up. when she walks out of the hospital, and you don't quite have a sense because you've been stuck in her world. You don't how bad the war is going for the Confederacy, and the camera just goes up, and you see this endless train platform.
But what's the last part?
The tattered flag.
Yeah, and it's like
tattered flag.
Romanticization of the South.
Well,
it was all part of the Jim Crow movement.
Let's not even go there.
That's a whole other 2-hour episode.
We did that episode.
I will say one very, very positive thing about Gone with the Wind. I think screenwriters should be required to see that movie and read the book, because to me that is an excellent example of a mammoth book
that was adapted well.
That it was really adapted well. Apparently everybody in Hollywood had a shot at it.
Right.
Sidney Howard was not the only, he was the only credited screenwriter, but apparently Ben Hecht had worked on it.
Ben Hecht worked on almost everything.
Yes. He was the Robert Towne of his day.
Yes.
But the screenwriters for most of the Harry Potter books and films could have used the lesson.
Yeah, there's that.
From Gone with the Wind. Because Gone with the Wind just managed to keep everything... And yes, it is 3 hours and 45 minutes, but it is a huge, huge book. And they cut the things that should have been cut and kept the things that could have been kept. And it's a really good script. I just think it's...
Well, it kept it moving.
And I just think it's dreadfully acted.
I don't think
a lot
of
it. Some of it.
I don't think you can argue with Vivian Leigh. I can't argue with Clark Gable.
Or Olivia de Havilland is wonderful. And Hattie McDaniel, of course.
Yes. Right.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Unless we're going to go backwards.
So remember that the first Oscars for films made in 27 was given to Wings and Sunrise. Remember, that was the only year they gave 2 Best Pictures. Sunrise won for artistic achievement. And by the way, Wings is a lot of fun. I mean, it really kind of moves, but we haven't mentioned William Wellman enough as a director. He's kind of viciously underrated, but Sunrise is clearly the film of that year. And then the completely unwatchable, possibly the worst Best Picture winner ever, Broadway Melody of 1929.
I've not seen it.
Some good songs, which were later recycled in the MGM musicals in the 40s and 50s. But
it's worse than The Greatest Show on Earth?
No, it is, and it's exactly like the sound recording scenes in Singing in the Rain. I mean, the mic goes in and out, and the camera doesn't move. But, eventually we get going. And so we start at 1930, the third Oscars. And I think maybe, guys, we're going to agree that's the only time they got it right.
Yeah, I'll go along.
1930? Yes.
And the winner was Louis Milestone's All Quiet on the Western Front, the adaptation of the Remarque novel. And I think it's brilliant. I think it
still
perfect.
Has a lot of power.
And it's hard to keep in mind that our hero is German.
Yeah.
And, and that didn't cause any controversy. The thing that will always stay with me is the battle scenes when... the French are storming the barbed wire, and there's a huge explosion. And this is pre-code 1930, so you can show it. And all Luaire's, our hero, Paul, sees is just a severed arm grabbing onto the wire.
Right.
And he looks away. And I love the ending, too. In the book, it just mentions there's a little briefing. That it's about 2 months before the war ends, all quiet on the Western Front. Mm-hmm. There was some action in which Paul, our hero, is killed. Here you get the thing with the butterfly.
Yeah.
The other nominees that year, and I didn't see most of them, were The Big House.
Which is terrific, great prison drama.
Really?
Really good.
I have seen that. It's good.
Yeah, really good.
Disraeli.
Ugh.
The Divorcee, which I have seen.
Which I have not seen.
The Norma Shearer. Yeah. And The Love Parade.
Lubitsch. Yeah, I think Lubitsch directed. Okay. Yeah, I don't even know if a couple of those films don't even exist anymore. Yeah. And where is George Arliss when we need him?
Talk about artificial acting.
But that was the style. It was a hard transition. I'm going to mention just 2 other foreign films. Blue Angel.
Yes, that's good.
Which didn't give us Sternberg, because Sternberg had done some fantastic gangster pictures. In the late, Docks of New York and films like that in the late 20s.
That's right.
But it did give us Dietrich. And the Dietrich-Sternberg collaboration is coming back later on in my list. And the other is, it's a very Soviet Stalinist film, but Alexander Dovzhenko's Earth,
Oh
the
yeah,
one
I've
with the
seen
sunflower and the.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful about the cycle of life and the farm and Soviet collectivism.
It's almost always used in classes about the history of editing.
Exactly.
It's always
Doshenko being a real student of Eisenstein, and and the montage editing is just beautiful. Anything else worth mentioning for 1930, Johnny?
No, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, it's. Okay, so then we'll move directly on to 1931, in which if I weren't going to give Chaplin the nod later on in the decade, I would have chosen City Lights.
That's what I would have chosen.
I too, yeah. I think that's far and above the best movie that year.
Wasn't nominated. What won that year was Cimarron, which is atrocious.
Yeah.
I agree.
Did you guys see that? I know they remade it in the early 60s. I think it was Glenn Ford or something like that.
No, it was Stuart Whitman.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Another
Why?
Another question mark actor.
Yeah. Not feeling it. What else was nominated that year, Mike?
East Lynne, which I didn't see the movie. I've seen the play.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's atrocious. Yeah. The Front Page, which is okay.
Yeah.
Not as good as the play.
Until you watch His Girl Friday, yeah.
Skippy.
Taurog, yeah.
And Trader Horn, which I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
And other notable films of that year were Little Caesar and The Public Enemy.
Public Enemy is good. It's aged pretty well. And you were talking about Wellman. That's a movie that kind of sticks in my mind as it's cinematic. It's not very stage bound and artificial feeling with having to that anchored to the microphone.
Well, and also
he moves the camera.
Cagney is just so electric. I mean, it's like, boom. Where did he come from?
And it does have some very famous moments.
Grapefruits and very nice.
Fruit.
But I'm going. I would also. One of my favorite. I am an insane fan of René Clair's first four sound films in France, but especially the one that came out in 1931. That's Le Million, about the starving artist who wins the lottery, but the ticket gets lost. Oh my God!
I saw that in my French class in college.
Yep, that is the sweetest, loveliest film.
That was good.
Renoir's my first mention of Renoir, which is Le Chien, which Lang remade as Scarlet Street.
Yes.
In 1944, which I think is great. But I am by far giving my 1931 Oscar to Fritz Lang.
M.
Yeah. Has to be M. I mean, that there was more innovation in that one film than any 15 other films.
No, it's a great movie.
And Lang was really the first person to understand how to use sound as opposed to just recording voices and ambient noise. Yes. He uses it, and Peter Lorre's performance, and I'm not even going to get into talking about M because there are several great books written just about that film.
It's a very influential movie.
It is so by
disturbing
far
as hell.
Yes,
I mean, boy.
But the opening scenes, when Elsie's mom is calling for her, and down the stairs, you see this looking down through the staircase, and then we know that Elsie's been killed by the murderer,
right.
and her place setting. Lang kind of lingers on that, and the empty place setting. It's just little moments like that. Yeah. And again, then here's Peter Lorre, who is just one of the most horrifying characters in all of film. And yet at the end, when the criminals get hold of him and they're putting him on trial in their kangaroo court, he's so pathetic, and you just feel hard. And then you're like, wait a minute, it's like Clockwork Orange. You're like, wait,
he's a tortured soul.
I'm feeling sorry for this guy?
Yeah.
Whoa. So... for 1931, nothing else even in consideration for me except maybe City Lights. My choice would be M.
And mine is City Lights.
I don't know. It's hard for me to choose between the two of those. Boy.
Pretty hard to argue with City Lights. It's a perfect film.
Yeah. Still makes me cry.
The only thing, the ending. Oh my God! Mm-hmm. Just the one title card.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
When she touches his hand and recognizes that it's him.
Yeah.
And she's not great. And I'm only saying she's not great because I compare her to, say, Paulette Goddard.
Well, Paulette Goddard was alive.
Right, who's a real, a real foil for him in Modern Times and Great Dictator. But, either I'm going with M. I could certainly. So, John, we got to make you choose. We got to make you break the tie here,
choose?
brother.
Oh, boys, apples and oranges. They're both so different. My God, I think they're both great movies.
Brilliant, perfect.
Wait, if I have to choose, which do I want to go take on a desert island? That kind of thing. Well.
City Lights is the date movie, but Desert Island.
That's a good way to put it. There you go. That's a good way to put it. Maybe City Lights, I guess.
But Desert Island is M.
Yeah,
has to be.
I know M is. It's very true what you said that M is a far more influential movie. The way that it was photographed, and as you said, the way he uses sound.
Yeah,
he's like maybe. I would say I'm maybe 20 years ahead of its time as far as the use of sound.
So M with drama and Le Million by Claire with comedy. Really, 1931 is when the world starts to figure out how to use sound in interesting ways. Yeah. And so for that, the year is worth our time.
Although not really Hollywood, because they sort of like still were very stage bound for the next several years. Most of the movies, really.
Until you get to Busby Berkeley, I would say.
Yeah.
But
even their dramas were most of Hollywood dramas in the 30s. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the exception of a couple of William Wylers.
Well, aged well.
The big wasn't the Champ from 31. Wally Peary, the Champ.
31, 32.
Talking about corn.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Not working. All right. Rushing through to 1932, the winner being... I understand why Grand Hotel won. It was all of MGM's stars in one place at one time, and it was melodrama, but that's not even close. I'd rather give it to Freaks, honestly. I mean, Freaks has turned out to be a much better and more influential film.
I think I would go with I Am a Future from Shanghai.
Oh, nice. Yeah, tell me more. I don't know if our fans know that one. Great Paul Muni film.
I mean... I'm not a big fan of Paul Muni. Sometimes I think he's kind of artificial. I think, I agree.
Except he's Jewish, so it's gotta be.
So is Jackie Mason. It didn't make him a great actor.
No, but worry about the coach.
Well, a man he's wrongly accused of murder. He's put in prison. He keeps trying to get out, and he keeps end up going back. It's a haunting movie, and it's another one of those movies. One of those movies that's cinematic.
Right. Who directed?
Mervyn Leroy.
It was Leroy. That's what I thought. Yeah.
He had a long career.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No. Another guy who always worked. Not an auteur, but as one of those great, solid studio craftsmen. Yeah.
He did direct part of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
So I mean, he.
On the foreign front, I would Carl Dreyer's Vampire, which is just beautiful, and the least known of his sound features, and that's a shame because it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful. And Ozu's I Was Born By.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, which is love. My first Ozu film that I love. But I am when you want to talk about influence. I mean, there was Little Caesar, there was Public Enemy, but for my money, the sound gangster film really is born with my choice for 1932, which is Howard Hawks' Scarface.
I was thinking about that. I have one big problem with Scarface because I really like most of it a lot, except for Paul Muni. I think he's really bad in it.
He's better than Al Pacino in the remake.
The remake, and I know so many people who love the remake.
Do you know what I'm talking about, John? Do you know? Because I know so many Hispanic people who talk like that.
Al Pacino in that movie sounded like Carol Burnett doing Charo.
Oh, nice. That's very good.
Well, the original Scarface, I mean, Paul Muni it's almost a comic strip Italian accent. It's really pretty bad. But there are a lot of really, really good touches in the movie, and I love Howard Hawks.
The X's, the symbolic X's. Boris Karloff is in it, and he's wonderful in it. Yeah. Yep.
Here are the other nominees.
For 32?
Aerosmith, Bad
Good
Girl,
novel.
Bad Girl.
Don't know it.
Don't know it either. The Champ. 5-star Final.
5-star Final? What the hell is that?
I don't know. 1 Hour with You.
It only got 2 stars.
Shanghai Express.
Yes,
which is what I would have voted for.
Well, okay, I will say something about Shanghai Express too. It's the same thing. The acting in it is really bad, except for Anna May Wong, and there's not enough of her.
Yeah.
Anna May Wong is the only real person in that movie, and there's very little of her.
Who wants reality? It's Dietrich.
Yeah, but Dietrich she's not good in it. She just plays attitude in it. And you have Clive Brook.
She often did.
She have Clive Brook as a piece of wood.
He usually was.
And Eugene Pallette is like hamming it up all over the place, and he developed into a very good actor.
Yes.
And
he's going to show up in one.
But I have to say, though, visually it's beautiful. And I like the story a lot, but the acting kills it.
And other notable films from that year, we mentioned Scarface, Frankenstein.
Yeah.
The Guardsman, which That's
London Fontaine,
It's their only movie.
Yeah.
The only time they ever acted on film.
I've never seen it.
It's stagey, of course.
Yeah.
But it gives you a chance to see them, and they're very good. I mean, I can see why they got that reputation, because their last play was when I was like 2 or 3, so I never got to see them on stage. And the one that I'm choosing is Renoir's Bordeaux, Saved from Drowning, which I love.
Absolutely.
I love that movie.
Absolutely. Well, I know we found out that you are a Michel Simon fan.
Yes,
when
I
we
am.
did our piece on great last films by directors,
Yes.
and we talked about La La Land, and he's wonderful in everything he does.
He's sort of my hero.
Yeah,
Acting hero from that decade.
And I even like Mazursky's remake of it.
I do too. It's fun.
Down and Out in Beverly Hills, for those of you playing along from '86. But yeah, it's a
fun.
Wonderful film. I mean, and that Renoir humanism. John, what about you for 32?
I'm kind of torn between I'm in Future of Chang'an and Scarface, Scarface I think is a little bit more original.
Yes. And and also again with the pre-code stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, his
had more freedom.
Yeah, and with the violence and his feelings for his sister are played by Ann Dvorak are made quite explicitly clear. And it's like whoa, right? Yeah. Pre-code, I remember. I would also throw in Island of Lost Souls.
Ooh.
Which was Charles Lawton, doing the H.G. Wells, The Island of Dr. Moreau, and it is a twisted piece of work.
That?
I don't know. I don't know who directed that, I'm embarrassed to say. Fact checker!
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Too bad they unionized. We're like Starbucks now, we have to pay them real wages. But
so too much.
Yeah, that is
you should be happy to work for us.
There's some shocking stuff in there. That's what I love about the pre-code movies. But again, just for sheer influence, and in some ways, Scarface is the real template, as I said, for gangster films.
And we all agree that we don't like Grand Hotel.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I want to be alone.
Here's a few good moments, but that's about it. And a lot of the acting is very hammy.
Very, very hammy.
Yeah.
Except, oddly enough, I think Joan Crawford's pretty good in it.
She is.
And she is somebody I usually don't like.
I mean, I'm intrigued. There's this new biography of Garbo.
I heard. I read
to be very
about
good.
it. Yeah.
But although what I gather, there's nothing below the surface. Yeah.
After she retired, she just basically did nothing.
No, but that she's
for 50 years
always seemed to be this mystery woman who was hiding this deep dark secret, and apparently the book says that there was really nothing. No, there. So. So with a little love to Freaks and a little love to Vampire and I'm a Fugitive and I'm giving it to Scarface for 32. Michael, you're on Bordeaux. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm on Scarface.
And John's on Scarface. All right, fun.
Island of Lost Souls was directed by Erie C. Kenton. I know that name is all on the tip of our tongues.
Wow. The poor man's Marion Cooper. It feels like one of those King Kong, Chang kind of films. But, And I think wasn't Most Dangerous Game with Joel McCrea in 32 also? That was also a really twisted little film.
I don't know.
And Freaks, of course, I mentioned again, Browning's Freaks. So it was a really interesting year. Pre-code, we should just do a pre-code episode sometime. All right, well, the only thing I could say about Grand Hotel is that it was better than what won in 1933, which is Cavalcade, based on the Noel Coward play. And I don't know.
I've never even seen the play.
That may give Greatest Show on Earth and Broadway Melody.
Really?
And a run for its money.
I've never seen the film. I've always been told to stay away.
And I think there were a ton of really interesting films in 33.
Yeah, the other nominees were Farewell to Arms, 42nd Street.
They changed the ending. In Farewell to Arms. She lives in the movie. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang. Lady
so
is listed.
The years get a little...
Once again, it's 32 to 33, so I'm just saying that's when it was nominated. Lady for a Day.
Capra, right?
Little Women, the cue car. The Private Life of Henry VIII with Charles Laughton.
Great performance.
She Done Him Wrong.
Mae West.
Smilin' Through.
Never heard of it.
This I know from nothing.
And the first of many State Fairs.
Oof. Zoinks. Wait, the musical State Fair? Really?
I don't think it's the Rodgers and Hammerstein. I think it was
okay.
Because the first one of theirs was 1945, the one with Gene Crane.
Oh, that's State Fair, right. Okay,
and there's one in the 60s. Other notable films, though, and there were several of them.
Lots.
King Kong.
Hello.
Trouble in Paradise.
Brilliant.
Design for Living. Tugboat Annie.
Yeah.
Dinner at 8.
Great.
The Invisible Man.
Fantastic.
The Mummy. Yeah. And my favorite, the one I'm voting for, Duck Soup.
Yeah, I could certainly see why.
Duck Soup.
I also mentioned another Capra film from that year was The Bitter Tea of General Yen.
Yeah.
Which is aside from the fact
very
that...
Very un-Capra-like.
But great Stanwyck performance. And although, again, we have to deal with someone, to use the expression used these days, yellowing up, Niels Astor, a white actor playing Asian.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting film. And that wasn't even Stanwyck's best performance in 33. She's in Babyface. The last really great pre-code film where she absolutely sleeps her way to the top.
Yeah.
And there's no bones made about it. And I'm like, wow, pre-code.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Testament of Dr. Mabuse came out in 33?
Oh my God. Yes. That's almost, I think, even better than the first one. Because it's Hitler. I mean, it is right on top. And, the legend has it that Lang was invited by Goebbels to, take over the Nazi film industry. And after Mabuse
came... And he skedaddled.
Yes, and he went left Thea von Harbu and went right to the train station. And boom, off he went. So, yeah, I could definitely see giving it to Duck Soup. I'm going to meet those dancing feet because... I know you hate Ruby Keeler. I know you don't love Dick Powell.
But Ruby Keeler just perplexes me. The first time I saw her,
we're talking about 42nd Street, by the way, which is my choice. Was on
stage. No, Net. My dad said, "Oh, Ruby Keeler, you're going to see something now." And I watched. Was just like, my mouth was open at how bland and bad she was. And then I watched the 42nd Street, which was being shown a lot on Channel 5 because of the success of No Nanette, and I thought, she stinks in this. I mean, compared...
I think she's adorable.
Compared to Ginger Rogers and Una Merkel, who are wonderful in the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Warren Baxter is good. It's a good story.
Isn't Ginger Rogers that her character's called Anytime Annie or something like? God, I love pre-code. It's good times.
We should mention a little bit that this was the height of the Depression.
Right, but that's thank you, John, because that's why I love the Warner's musicals, because unlike sneak preview we're doing for our January episode 36, we're going to take you on a quick tour of the musical from beginning to now, inspired by the new West Side Story, but... the Astaire Rogers musicals are, to set in these fantasy European countries with elegant ballrooms and everyone in tuxes and gowns. But what I love about the Warner's musicals is that not only do they not ignore the Depression, they incorporate it. Because the whole thing about 42nd Street is if this show closes, all of these people are going to go hungry. Right. Yeah, and then when the star breaks her ankle and, and Ruby Keeler's, you're going out there and you're coming back a star. But the star of the film is Busby Berkeley.
Yes.
It's introduction to a kind of bizarre, only in movies kind of genius that, and he kept on doing this for years and years.
I find it hard to love a film where I don't like the central performance.
Yeah,
and that's my problem with Miss Keeler. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and she pretty much retired after she and Jolson divorced. It was kind of the end of her career until No Nanette.
What you said though before, but the difference of the two kinds of musicals though was pretty much of all the movies of those few years, because it was either trying to make something that was pure escapism or something where they were really trying to delve into the issues of the day, which is how the gangster movies came about.
And let me throw another film out that we were talking about, Bill Wellman, before.
Yeah,
Wild Boys of the Road. Which
I've never seen it.
It was very hard to see for a long time, and it is about exactly what it says. It's about this group of young boys and men who are forced onto the road because of the Depression. It's about how they survive. And man, does it take on the Depression straight on. Although when we were talking about Duck Soup in an earlier episode, we speculated that that's why it failed, because no one wanted to see Rufus T. Firefly as president or anything.
But Duck Soup it's almost Dadaist. It's a complete anarchy.
Yeah,
which is lovely, and no musical numbers. God bless us.
Well, they do have.
No, but I mean, no harp, no piano.
No, that was Thalberg's kind of idea, because of Duck Soup's failure, and Night of the Opera and Day of the Races were successful.
I
Free Fredonia!
But did you shadow Firefly? Oh, sure, we shadow him all day. What day? Shadow day.
Remember, we're fighting for the honor of this woman, which is more than she ever did for herself. It's still my favorite line of almost any movie.
Oh my goodness. I'm Duck Soup is unmatchable, but I'm just going to give it by a hair, by a whisker, to 42nd Street. But by the way, if you guys can track down, makes a very good point. If you can track down a film like Wild Boys of the Road, the films that took on the Depression straight on, and then there's like bizarro ones like Gabriel Over the White House. Have you guys seen that one?
Yeah, I
have. That's a weird film. That's really disturbing. But there you go. So 1933, I'm giving to 42nd Street.
Duck Soup,
and
I'm going with Testament of Dr. Mabuse because I want people to watch it.
Oh my God, absolutely. All three. The first one, Dr. Mabuse, Der Spieler, The Gambler, is from 24, and then his last film, which he went back to Germany to do in 61. So theoretically it's a trilogy, but yeah, I mean, making this film about a man who has almost hypnotic power over masses of people in 1933. I mean, Lang was right on top of it, and it's in the best possible way. It's hard to watch.
Yeah, because the allegory is a bit obvious to us now, of course, but
it's amazing. So 33, an underrated year. We go to 1934, and of course, the first film has only Silence of the Lambs has also won the Big Five, right?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
And Cuckoo's. Right. So we're talking about film, director,
actor, and
screenplay. So, but the first one, of course, was 1934's film It Happened One Night, which really put Frank Capra on the map. Yep. It's still a very enjoyable
film. Oh, yeah. I think it's a good film. Good. I think it's for me, it's one of Capra's best films.
The Walls of Jericho.
But the other nominees were The Barretts of Wimpole Street. Cleopatra.
Oh, the Claudette Colbert. Yeah.
Flirtation Walk.
Don't know it.
The Gay Divorcee.
That's Aaron Rodgers, right? Yeah.
Here Comes the Navy.
There Goes the Army.
The House of Rothschild.
Here Comes the Navy. What the? I gotta look that one up.
Yeah, I didn't know it either. Wow. The House of Rothschild. Imitation of Life. The first.
John Stahls. Yeah. Which I love. I mean, I like this, but the original is great.
One Night of Love, Via Villa.
I'm sure you had more than that.
Oh, with Wallace Beery as Pancho Villa, yeah. God.
The White Parade.
The White Parade.
Sounds like Staten Island.
I know. And the one that I would have voted for all over Best Picture is The Thin Man.
Hard to argue.
And it was nominated.
Hard to argue with that.
I think
even Asta was good.
But I think that is one of it's definitely the first film that works as both of a comedy and mystery, and they're both perfect.
Well, it's basically the template for that.
Yeah,
that's the one who invented the comic mystery.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and they both
it's aged really well.
Well. Every time it's on, I watch it.
Powell's great. Lloyd's great.
Yep. Other notable films: The Scarlet Empress,
which we already talked about.
No, and that's my choice.
The Merry Widow, It's a Gift.
It's the W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields.
Yeah, which is good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Sons of the Desert.
Laurel and
Hardy. That's one of their better ones.
And 20th Century.
Which is good.
Good. Barrymore. Yeah,
I think they're both kind of hammy in it.
The Barrymore character, it works because he's supposed to be this really overbearing.
Yeah, but it's her I don't really like.
Yeah,
in it.
I agree.
And,
even though I know a lot of people love Carole Lombard. I was never crazy about her.
Not me either. I like her in To Be and Not to Be.
Yeah, that works.
But most of her...
I happen to love To Be or Not
to Be.
Yeah.
But most of her stuff I find her kind of hammy. Sorry.
I kind of like her, but... John, what's your 1934?
I got to toss it up between It Happened One Night and The Thin Man. I think you make a really good point. I think I would go with The Thin Man if I really have to choose. But I do like It Happened One Night a lot. I think it's definitely one of the years where they almost kind of got it right.
Yeah, they did. I mean, you can't argue with It Happened One Night.
Yeah, it's a very charming movie.
Yeah,
and everyone is good in it.
Yes, everyone.
Which is rare for that time.
Right.
But I'm going with Scarlet Empress just because I think of all the Dietrich Sternberg films of that series of 7 films, it is by far the most insane. It is art directed to death. You've never seen a film.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God. But it's also out of its mind.
Yeah, it's very inventive visually. It's always interesting visually. I like the story a lot.
No, but what I love about...
But you're right. You're right.
Scarlet Empress is also, it's sort of the last gasp of pre-code in that it is made perfectly and wonderfully explicitly clear that she gets control over everything. Remember, she's brought in as a fairly young woman to marry the Mad Tsar, but she takes control because she basically sleeps with everyone at the top of the army, and they support her, and it's just completely... all of those Sternberg films take place in a completely different universe. I know it's sort of supposed to be Russia in Catherine the Great's time, but it's Sternberg land. And Dietrich, for me, she is no great actress at that point, I agree, but just works perfectly. She's part of the decoration and just glows in the film. It's a movie of absolute and utter insanity. So I'm giving it to Scarlet Empress for that.
And I'm giving it to Thin Man.
And you too for Thin Man, John? Yeah. All right, so there you go. No argument from me.
1935, Mutiny on the Bounty.
Mr. Christian
was the winner. Yeah. The best thing I can say about Mutiny on the Bounty was better than the Brando version.
Yes, that's true. That's low bar, Mike.
That's the best thing I can say.
Really low bar.
It's got some good things in it.
But the Brando version?
Yeah. It's kind of let's say it's bloated, I think is a good way to describe it.
Bloated?
And I'm not talking about Brando.
Brando, yeah.
No, I know.
No, but I mean, Lawton is a great
Lawton
Captain
is very good.
Gable is very charismatic.
And French Cartoon, it's the only time that 3 actors were ever nominated for the Best Actor Oscar.
Is that right?
Yeah, only time it ever happened.
Mike Edmund is your man for fun Oscar facts.
The other one, who won that year? That I can't tell you, but it was none of them. Was that Paul?
Well, they probably all cancel each other out.
Yeah, was it...
He doesn't... I stumped him.
Oh,
well, I don't know. In my 30s, I don't know. I
stumped him.
You win a free pizza over
I think it was Paul Muni.
Ooh, for Life of Emile Zola?
No, that was later.
For Juarez?
No, that was later, too.
Was it?
Well, look at...
I'll look it up.
The Oscars for 1935.
Send our fact checker a look.
But I know none of the 3 of them won.
It's okay. I mean, I do like it better than the Brando, but...
By the way, here comes the Navy.
Did you really look up?
Yes! James Cagney, Pat O'Brien, Gloria Stewart. A cocky guy joins the Navy for the wrong reason but finds romance, and twice is cited for heroism. Directed by that great director, Lloyd Bacon.
Oh, I like it. Lloyd Bacon.
42nd Street.
He directed 42nd Street, yep.
Right, yeah, look that I want to say Paul Muni won
35.
For 35, but...
By the way, I forgot about Juarez. I really like that film. That's a really interesting movie.
And then other notable films.
What are the nominees in 35?
Oh, God, yes. Alice Adams.
Sure.
Broadway Melody of 1936.
Inevitably.
Captain Blood.
Oh,
I know who won it. For The Informer.
Oh, Victor
McLaglen. Yes, that's right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Because I have written here The Informer.
I like Victor McLaglen, but he's a little hammy in it.
He was kind of a ham. Yeah. I liked him, but...
Well, when they use him more as a comic, the hamminess works.
I love him in The Quiet Man.
Ford's first great sound film.
David Copperfield, did I say that already? Les Miserables.
Which is not bad.
Yeah, I've seen it. Frederick March.
Yep, and Martin is Javert. Yeah.
Lives of a Bengal Lancer.
I've seen it. Gary Cooper, French Anton.
Yeah.
Adventure movie. It's okay.
A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, yeek. Yeah. It was directed by Max Reinhardt, though, so that makes
everybody but his kitchen sink is in it.
Yeah, and Jimmy Cagney is Puck.
Yeah. Naughty Marietta.
Naughty Marietta. Oh, that's an Eddie McDonald, right?
Yeah.
Right. You never know what Mike's thinking.
Ruggles of Red Gap, which I like.
Actually, it's pretty good.
It's okay.
And Top Hat.
Oh, which is going to be one of my honorable mentions.
That would have been my vote of the nominees. The other notable films are The Bride of Frankenstein,
which is my choice, by the way.
A Night of the Opera, and my choice, The 39 Steps.
Yeah, I had a feeling someone was going to go there.
Yeah,
can't argue with it.
To me, Bride of Frankenstein or 39 Steps, I prefer 39 Steps. But although Bride of Frankenstein, I can't argue with it.
Bride of Frankenstein is just
probably,
way out there.
I think it might be the best of all those horror movies.
Absolutely.
But neither film was nominated.
And I love that Bride opens with has the framing device of Mary Shelley and everyone sitting around telling the story, and then the same cast brought back from and. God, the visuals of that, which
James Whale,
right, which Mel Brooks paid such loving tribute to in Young Frankenstein.
It's almost exactly the same.
No, well, he insisted on filming it in black and white and using that equipment that Universal still had lying around. But
even the abnormal brain, that's actually in the movie, the original movie. It's in there. The brain abnormal.
Abby
brain.
something.
Abby normal.
Abby normal. No, and
your hump on the other side.
And Elsa Lanchester is
she's great in it.
Yeah.
The Bride of Frankenstein. Oh my goodness.
Dr. Pretorius.
And it's one of those very few sequels that is better than the original, I would say. And I love the original. I think Karloff is amazing in the original. Everyone's good in the original, but this is even better. And it is better than the original. And it has a sense of humor to it, unlike most horror films of the day. Yes. And it's a really intelligent horror film. And, and it very deliberately goes back to the roots in Mary Shelley. So that's Bride of Frankenstein is going to be my choice for 1935.
Mine's 39
Steps. Can't argue with that.
No, I'm going with 39
He's
steps
missing part of his finger. You mean like this? Oh my God, that's such a good movie. And it's really Hitchcock announcing him. I mean, he did some decent work before that, surely. Yeah. But 39 Steps is the first, this is
Hitchcock.
Right. Yeah. So no arguments from me, and we move on.
1936.
We dig deeper into the Great Ziegfeld.
Oh,
by the way,
truly awful movie.
Did I ever tell you guys that I won a trivia contest the last time I was on a cruise? They gave 20 movie quotes. For the first 10, you had to name the movie. For the last 10, you had to name the movie and the year. So it was a total of 30 points, 10, 10, and 10, and I got 30 points. And this woman accused me of cheating. By the way, the swag was the little Royal Caribbean zipper pulls. That's what she was. He's cheating. I was right in front of the guys. She was like, he's cheating. He's got Google open. So I ran into her later and she was like, you cheated. I said, I'll tell you what. If you can tell me what film won Best Picture in 1936, I will give you all my Royal Caribbean zipper pulls. And she's like, well, I didn't know that. I said, well, it was the Great Ziegfeld. Look it up. Have a nice day. See you at the buffet. So there you go. So that's the only positive thing I have to say about the Great Ziegfeld. Mike, explain Louise Reiner to me. I don't get it. 2 in a row.
Well, the fact that she won Best Actress in that film. is the reason.
It's the phone call scene,
it's
right?
the phone call, but she's barely in it. I know. And that's why I think 37 is when they started the supporting performances, because it was ridiculous that she won it. I thought it was ridiculous that she won the following year, too. I can't explain Louise Reiner. I mean, she didn't have much of a career after that. But
with good reason. I mean, it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch white people yellowing up in the good earth. But what she won for.
You also you have to remember there's the power of the studio too, and people who worked for a studio, if they were voting, they were pretty much told, you better vote for our movie and bar actors. So it was kind of like whatever studio that year had the most employees would win stuff.
What else was nominated in 36?
Okay, Anthony Adverse, Dodsworth.
On my near the top list.
Libeled Lady, which I like a lot.
I like a lot too.
Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Romeo and Juliet.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I know.
With 40-year-olds.
The geriatric version.
Oh
yes.
No! God, why?
And they had about as much. Norma Shearer and Leslie Howard had about as much charisma as Paul Newman and Julie Andrews in Torn Curtain. I mean,
notice how we managed to sneak Torn Curtain into almost every single episode. It's sort of like our totem film, you know.
Okay.
Well, we need this a sponsor.
Who loves both Paul Newman and Julie Andrews? Go figure.
Right, but together?
Yeah.
No.
San Francisco.
Oh, the earthquake scene is great.
Yep,
That's what I remember from that one.
A few people got hurt doing that part.
Yeah. The Story of Louis Pasteur, A Tale of Two Cities, and Three Smart Girls.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah. Other notable films...
Well, if you were smart, you would have heard of those girls.
There you go.
Other notable films that year are Showboat, Fury, Modern Times, My Man Godfrey, which I like a lot. That's good. And one of my favorites, I'm not saying it's the best movie, but I want to give it a minute, because I absolutely love this movie, and I was actually attempting to rewrite it. Theodora Goes Wild. Do you know it?
With Irene Dunne.
Yeah. I absolutely love this movie, and I found out just over the last couple of weeks you can see it on YouTube for free.
Oh, lovely!
Because you cannot buy it. You cannot buy a single DVD of it, but you can see it.
After the Thin Man came out that year, too, right?
Yeah,
which is one of the. That's
the best. Good sequel.
Yeah, it's a really, really good sequel. It's actually almost an outright comedy. That one.
Yeah, except James Stewart is really creepy in it.
Yes. Yeah. And Sabotage.
Sabotage, true.
Which is a great 30s Hitchcock movie.
Although he's not happy with it.
Have you guys seen Dodsworth?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
God, is that a beautiful
Dodsworth
movie?
is what I would vote for.
Wow. And there's your girl Mary Astor again.
Oh, God, she's great in it.
She's so good. And Walter Houston.
No, he's wonderful. But I want to go back to Theodore Goes Wild, because for people who don't know it, and people, please go out and see this movie. It's on YouTube. It's very, very funny.
Watch it from home.
Watch it from home with Irene Dunne and Melvin Douglas. It's about a woman who lives in a small town, a very conservative small town with her maiden aunts, and they have a conservative book club, and they condemn this book, while in fact she is the author of the book and is writing under a pen name. And I was going to try to update it. The original story is by Mary McCarthy. And I actually did an attempt, this was about 8 or 9 years ago, to write a treatment, but updating it to a gay, someone who is a pastor, and they're condemning things, but secretly he writes this television show, which is steamed
like
gay.
a Will and Grace. Yeah.
And it's about sexual and political hypocrisy, and Donald Trump, as far as I'm concerned, just spoils that. I mean,
we've outlawed hypocrisy.
It really did.
Yep.
I mean, it's just
gone.
like there's no such thing anymore.
But a word of love for Irene Dunne, because
she's great in it.
I was about 2 steps away from choosing The Awful Truth as my film for 37, and she is just so wonderful in it.
She's great in it. That is really, really good in comedies.
And here's the trivia about Theodora Goes Wild. She didn't want to do it. She was really scared of comedy. That was her first comedy.
Is that the first comedy?
Yeah. She'd done musicals, but she hadn't done comedy, and she was very nervous about it. I like it better in comedies than dramas.
I do too. I'm totally with you there.
Yeah, I agree. Well, also the Jean Renoir movie came out that year. The Crime of
Crime de Monsieur Lang.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really good.
But anyway,
so you're going with
said,
Dodsworth.
We'll just give it the
Dodsworth.
Dodsworth is one of the most grown-up films.
Yeah.
In terms of its treatment of human emotion, that not just from the 30s, but ever. I mean, I think it's probably my favorite Wyler film. I love every performance. I think it is just so unexpectedly insightful about people and about relationships and about marriage and about love. I just love it.
Is that the year of these three? 1936?
With Margaret Sullivan?
No.
I think...
Merlot, the other...
I think so.
Because that's the other...
it's Robert
Wyler.
Young and...
No.
I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of Three Comrades.
Joel McCrea.
Yeah.
Joel McCrea, Merle O'Brien, and Miriam Hopkins. It's a heterosexual version of the Children's Hour, and... Sorry, my gay brethren.
Yep.
It's better.
Oh.
It's better than the Children's Hour.
There it is.
It's much better.
Yep. Yeah. No, I was thinking of Three Comrades.
1936.
Yep.
Okay, I would give that an honorable mention because that is Wyler is the one American director who I think does really well in dramas in the 30s.
Yes, at 100%.
No. I'm not a big fan of Jezebel.
I don't like Jezebel.
No.
I'm just not. But Dark Victory is okay, and Wuthering Heights overrated.
Yeah, it's a nice.
It's overrated, I think. I
would agree. I mean, it's...
Yeah. Well, there's that.
And I don't like Merle O'Brien in it.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah, it's hard to kind of get why he's so obsessed with her.
So, for 1936, Michael's going with
Modern
Dodsworth.
Times came out in 1936.
That's my choice.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
I mean,
I like Modern Times, too.
I think that it is...
It was a good year.
Yeah, they're getting better now.
And I think that Modern Times, there are so many bits that are so influential.
Yeah.
But what puts it over the
archetypal.
top for me as a Chaplin film is not even him. He's perfect in it. And all those old silent comedians he brought in to do the small parts. But is Paulette Goddard.
She's lovely.
Yeah.
Really, really. It's so endearing.
And we first see her, remember, she's stealing bananas to feed her. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And she's stealing bananas to feed her family. Yeah. And she runs away from the guy, and he's standing there trying to run after her, and she just like peels a banana and like bites into it. Just like
she gives my favorite performance in The Women.
I love her.
I do. I
think
really, and I don't think she ever got her due.
Nope.
And I think I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as romantic as the ending of City Lights is, I think the ending of Modern Times is just as
she was
romantic. You get that one title card.
To put it in a sort of an old-fashioned way, she was game.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Well, and so at the end of Modern Times, you get Dawn, and they're on the road. They've lost their jobs, but they're going down the road, and she's like starts walking with this grim, determined look, and he's like, smile.
Yeah. Smile.
And not only do they walk into but it's really the end of the tramp. I mean, I guess the barber character in Great Dictator is sort of like the tramp, but that's really the end of the most famous character in film.
And the veneer.
I mean, there's so much, and we hear his voice in film for the first time when she writes the words on the cuffs, and he goes out dance, and the cuffs go flying off his hands, and so he's got to make up, and he makes up the nonsense song, which is just even by my students, that's always the first full length film I show in my high school film class, and my students love that film.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Because it's absolutely timeless, and it's been ripped off and stuff. Although, fun fact, I was talking about René Clair before. Uh-huh. The next film Clair did after Le Million is called À nous la liberté, which is about factory workers and the oppression of their lives. And it was made in like 32, 33, and Chaplin, shall we say, borrowed a little bit for the plot of Modern Times. I don't care. No. Even the opening, I love the opening. The opening I used to teach, montage editing, because remember, it's the sheep in the pen, and then you dissolve right to the workers coming out of the train station to go to the factory. And that's such a rich association there, those two images juxtaposed. There's so much in Modern Times.
Well, there's another movie in 36 I'd just like to mention, Asaka Elegy, which is one of the early Kenji Mitsuguchi movies.
Which I have never seen.
Yeah, well, again, it's the same theme of, women being abused kind of thing, but a young woman becomes a mistress of the boss to support her family.
Yeah, Mizoguchi does have a theme, doesn't he? But
well, it's all personal. It's all about his own.
You were
experience.
saying that. That's right. I remember you were telling that story, and I didn't know that it related so directly to his own life, which is really interesting.
Well, it's sad as hell. My God.
Yeah. All right. So let's forget our troubles. Come on, get happy, and move to 1937. The Life of Emile Zola.
Oh my God.
It's okay. It's an interesting story.
Yeah, but it's just not done well.
The part with Dreyfus is good. I remember when Zola takes on the Dreyfus case is fairly interesting.
I haven't seen it in ages.
Either have I, and I just wasn't going to try to watch it.
Paul Muni again.
Yeah.
John, you mentioned Juarez, another Paul. I really liked Juarez. I thought that was a really good film.
I haven't seen it in ages. That's another Warner Brothers biopic.
Right, and Brian Ahern plays Emperor Maximilian. It's the first time I remember seeing him, and he's fantastic in it.
The other nominees that year were The Awful Truth.
Love it.
Captain Courageous.
Yeah.
Dead End.
Yeah, okay.
It's okay.
It's all right.
The Good Earth.
Inevitably.
In Old Chicago.
Don't know that one.
Don Amici.
Yeah.
Is it a musical or?
I don't remember what it is. I think it's one of those mishmash movies.
Yeah. I only like
let's try to please everybody.
I like Alice Faye because it's Pig Latin for phallus. So. See, you never thought all these years. You never thought about that.
I bet they did then.
He icked me K right in the Alice Faye. See. See, they go low, we go high. Just like Michelle Obama.
Continue.
Lost Horizon.
Oh, terrible. My God, a total horror show disaster.
Although the best thing I can say about it is better than the musical of 73.
Yes, than the Liv Ullmann.
Which is my vote for the worst movie ever made by a studio.
No
Cold
argument.
Canned Soup is better than musical.
Oh my God. 100 Men and a Girl.
Deanna Durbin, right?
I think so,
Yeah.
Stage Door, which a lot of Hepburn fanatics like that movie. I do not. And A Star is Born, the first one.
Janet Gaynor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't Garland, but it's okay.
I don't like any of them. The last one was the one I liked the best.
Yeah, that was
Lady
shockingly
Gaga.
good. Gaga was really good.
And I hope
You don't like the Judy Garland, James Mason?
I like them. I don't like the movie. I just don't like the script. I don't like the story.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
And I hated the Streisand.
Oh, God.
And I like Streisand.
Soft as an easy chair.
I walked out of that movie.
Sing it with me, John.
I'd rather not.
I just hope I'm not alive for the next one.
Oof. Well, we can arrange that. There are ways you don't want to know. I can get told by 3:30. Yeah.
Doesn't want to be alive for the next Star is Born.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, I'll file that away.
Please do.
Put it in my.
So of those, I'd by far pick The Awful Truth.
Oh, me too. And that is my favorite movie of that year.
So you're choosing that.
I love that movie.
I do too.
Cary Grant. That was the movie that kind of got him into the comedy.
The screwball comedy.
And he's wonderful in it.
Who else did it better?
And Dunn got nominated, and Ralph Bellamy got nominated for supporting, but not Grant. They never nominated him for a comedy. Just for
I'm doing the other Leo McCarey film that year, which I mentioned in our episode about American political films. And political in a small P, not really about politics.
Was very right-wing.
And McCarey won director for
The Awful
Truth and got up there and said, "Thank you, you gave it to me from the wrong movie." And I'm not going to go into it because you should listen to the politics episodes.
What's the movie?
It's Make Way for Tomorrow.
Oh, Make Way for Tomorrow, yeah.
Which
is good.
For Tomorrow, with the possible exception of Ozu's Tokyo Story, is the most heartfelt, brilliant, unsentimental, wonderful film about a subject that we just don't like to talk about, which is how we basically warehouse our elderly people. And I won't go into details because I did in that episode, but it is one of the 5 most moving American films I have ever seen. And again, I've never seen another American film that takes on the emotional and social weight of aging and what we do with people who are too old.
I remember finding a few lines in it kind of like, So that's why I would.
And it's not.
I would definitely give it. my vote would be The Awful Truth.
I can see that. I
just
think
there were just certain lines. I just
also it's
in the writing. Yeah.
It's Victor Moore and Beulah Bondi, so it's not exactly an A cast. Yeah. Thomas Mitchell, who plays their son, is actually really, really good in it.
Yes, he is good.
He's the one, remember, who says to his brothers and sisters, "My God, we are really horrible, aren't we?" And, I've just mentioned the end where they're a couple who he's lost his job in the Depression, and the kids say, "You can't both live with us," so they have to split up, and they put mom in a home, and they end up sending mom out to California, and they're separated, and the last scene is at the train station.
Yeah.
And they
sounds horrible.
I'll see.
You never saw it?
No, it's beautiful and moving without being sentimental.
Turner has it on quite a bit.
Yeah, Make Way for Tomorrow, guys.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like it, and that's why I chose it over. I love Awful Truth. I think it's perfect, but Make Way for Tomorrow is completely unique.
And other notable films from that year were Nothing Sacred.
Sure.
You Only Live Once.
Lang. Yeah.
Stella Dallas.
Yeah.
Shall We Dance? A Day of the Races.
Yeah.
Night Must Fall. And Topper.
Those aren't notable movies.
Yeah.
I like Topper.
Topper's okay.
So, interesting. A good year for Leo McCarey, anyway, because he won all three of our votes for 1937.
He did, and I was watching one of his more popular films this morning a little bit. It was on Turner last night, which I don't get. The Bells of St. Mary.
Oh.
I like Ingrid Bergman in it.
I like Ingrid Bergman in almost everything, but it's not a good movie, and I'm sorry.
It's very sentimental.
And either is, I know the
Going
Catholics. My Way? I don't like Going My Way.
Oh, would you like to swing on a star?
I've actually never gotten through Going My Way. I've gotten through The Bells of St. Mary's because it was shown when I saw it at 11 years old at a summer camp.
Going My Way is a better movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
but this man did direct Duck Soup, so
yes, I like him when he does comedy, but when he got sentimental,
Grant said that when they were doing The Awful Truth, he just didn't understand what was going on because they were kind of making everything up as they went along.
Oh. Yeah, it's from a play. The Awful Truth, and you wouldn't know it. But
great film.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that...
And it's one of the great screwball comedies.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that you guys are going screwball for 38, too.
Oh, yeah.
So 38 was, the winner was a most unremarkable Frank Capra film in his very good period.
You Can't Take It With You.
Yeah.
And it's such a great play. And they what they chose to do was just to puff up two of the minor characters from the play, the James Stewart and the Jean Arthur. They're in the play, but they're very minor. And the other characters who are wonderful get short shrift. And I just recently saw the revival of the play with James Earl Jones as the grandfather, and it was a wonderful production. And
the movie
sucks,
but it still seems to be sort of highly thought of.
I don't know why.
I
don't know.
I mean,
Stewart and Arthur are good in it.
Yes, I mean, some of it's kind of enjoyable, but I understand what you mean. And that's also something at the time they had to promote the stars to get people in the seats, and
it's so. And I'm
ensemble
surprised
movies were not.
I'm surprised they never remade it. Maybe I don't know. That's a movie from the 30s I would try to remake again.
Yeah, but there's nothing Capra when you think of Capra. There's nothing Capra about it.
No, it's from the Kaufman Hart.
So what else was nominated in 38?
The Adventures of Robin Hood.
My choice.
Alexander's Ragtime Band.
Yeah.
Boys Town.
Sure, Spencer Tracy.
The Citadel.
Was that Donut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Four Daughters.
Don't know that one.
I've seen it.
Grand Illusion. It was nominated that year. Jezebel. Pygmalion. And Test Pilot.
Yeah, not... I mean, you guys are, of course, going to go with... I'll
with Grand Illusion. Yeah.
Oh, I thought 38? I
38.
thought you were going with bringing up...
of the nominees.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes. Other notable films are Holiday, Angels with Dirty Faces, Algiers, and my favorite, Bringing Up Baby.
I don't see how
which is the best screwball comedy ever made, I think.
Yeah,
I like Kiss Girl Friday this much more.
Yeah, I of all the screwball comedies, actually, I think it might be my favorite Howard Hawks movie.
Yeah, mine too.
But at the same time, is it the best movie of the year?
I do. I think so.
I think I might go with Grand Illusion. Although, we are kind of cheating. They're considering 38, and Grand Illusion really was released in 1937.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, can I have a tie?
Yeah, give him a tie.
Give him a tie. So, and I am going...
Because Bring Up Baby is one of my all-time favorite movies. I never get tired of it.
Never.
I've probably watched it about 50 times.
That's a perfect film.
Yeah.
I mean, undeniable. But I'm going with... I seem to... As with Scarface, I'm going with a film that basically set the... And 42nd Street,
He's just a contrarian.
No, I'm not. See what I did there? Think about it. I'm going with a film that basically set the template for an entire genre, and that's Adventures of Robin Hood. Because in some ways, every adventure... It's perfect. The casting, there's your boy Claude Rains as evil King John, and Basil Rathbone and Olivia de Havilland and Flynn together are so amazing, and the direction by Curtis and Keeley is perfect, and
of that kind of movie too, it's still probably the best one.
Yeah, I think it's and what puts it over the top is the music. We did a whole episode 28 on our favorite scores, and in my top 5 was Eric Wolfgang Korngold's score for Robin Hood. It's perfect.
This is the opening music.
It's just the battle at the end and
the zinging arrows.
I want to put in a word for one of the nominees that I like. I don't think it's the greatest, but I like Pygmalion a lot. And for my money, Wendy Hiller is still my favorite Eliza Doolittle.
I saw that a long time ago.
I just watched it recently. Leslie Howard is okay. I'm not a Leslie Howard fan.
No, and unfortunately, he's all over the 30s.
But he's okay in it. But everybody else is quite good, and of course the ending is changed against Shaw's wishes, and he still wound up taking home an Academy Award for it. But I really, really like Wendy Hiller in Pygmalion. I think she definitely should have won the Best Actress.
Who plays Higgins in...
Leslie Howard.
Oh, right, Leslie Howard plays Higgins. And who plays...
I forget his name, who plays Doolittle. But remember, it's very different from the musical.
Right. I'm thinking My Fair Lady.
Yeah. It's different. Mrs. Higgins, the mother, is in it much more than in the My Fair Lady.
Wendy Hiller, an unfortunately forgotten
actress.
Love her.
She didn't make that many movies.
So for 38, we're going with Bringing Up Baby, John, you are...
No, we're giving you a tie. Bring Up Baby and
Grand Illusion, and I'm going with that genre template, The Adventures of Robin Hood, with a never more dashing Errol Flynn and a brilliant score.
For sure you were going to pick Grand Illusion, but
I put it in 37, and the only reason...
that's the thing.
Thank you for giving me a segue, John, because the only reason I didn't give it to Renoir in 37 is because I'm giving it to Renoir.
Also, I want to make a strong... Because my Oscar book said it was 39, but it really was 38. The Lady Vanishes.
Yeah.
Hitchcock won the New York Film Critics Award in 38. Whether it opened...
I know. That's 38. Yeah, but that's...
But Lady Vanishes, to me, is one of the most overrated Hitchcocks. Underrated, I mean.
Absolutely.
Not enough people know that movie, and I love that movie so much.
It shows pretty often.
Yeah, but I don't think people know it that well.
And the one other foreign film I think we have to mention is, I'm not a huge fan of the Ivan the Terrible films. I love Potemkin, but Eisenstein's other masterpiece is Alexander Nevsky. If you ever doubt that, watch the opening battle scene in The Empire Strikes Back, where the Imperial walkers coming through the fog and the ice, and then watch that battle scene and Alexander Nevsky to see what influenced it. And the music was just written by Prokofiev, in his spare time.
Lightweight.
So, oh my God! So that's worth seeing, but on as big a screen as possible, please. Technically, that's 38 too. So I'm throwing in a word for Alexander Nevsky.
1939. We're back where we started. Gone with the Wind. The other nominees were Dark Victory, Goodbye Mr. Chips, Love Affair, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Why not?
I think it's overrated.
I do too. I like the smaller
parts. It's still a good
parts.
movie, though. I like it.
Yeah. Ninotchka.
Love it.
Which I would say it's her best. I think that's her best film.
Absolutely. Great Wilder bracket script.
Of Mice and Men.
Really?
Stagecoach.
Absolutely. Talk about a genre starter.
The Wizard of Oz and Wuthering Heights.
Not a bad year.
And other notable films were...
You can see sort of the rise of the power of the studio that year, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, and everyone says 39 was... I think, was it our 4th or 5th episode we did on our favorite movie years?
Yeah.
And you guys were in the 70s, and I chose 1960. We chose to argue with 1939.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
other notable films from that year were Only Angels Have Wings.
Oh, I love
one of my
Only Angels
favorite
Have
Hawks
Wings.
films.
Young Mr. Lincoln.
Yeah.
The Rules of the Game.
Well,
My Choice.
Yeah, that's...
The Women. Intermezzo, A Love Story, and Gunga Din.
Well, Intermezzo it's Bergman's first.
First American.
Well, I'm
film,
going to throw in another Michiguchi movie, The Story of the Last Chrysanthemum, and that's the one. That's
that's glorious. I didn't know that was 39. Wow.
Yeah, it's 1939, and that's the one that's where the style started to sort of change, where it's really him. The longer takes, the use of the art direction, the mise en scene. Again, of course, you have that same theme running through his movies, but it's a great movie.
The only other foreign film I would put in there is Carnet's Le Jour se lève, which was so influential on film noir. It opens with Jean Gabin, and he's holed up in his apartment fighting with the police, and then we flash back to 3 days earlier when he was a normal guy living a normal life, and he gets caught up in these circumstances. Very noir.
Yeah,
it's beautifully shot. But I think we're all in
agreement.
A word for Stagecoach. Again, we're talking about a decade where so many of our genres that we know and love today got their formative starts, and certainly the Western, which was like a joke in the 30s for the most part.
Except for Cimarron. I'm kidding.
And Stagecoach, all of a sudden, the
was
Western
taken much more seriously.
Right, became a viable, thanks to John Ford, and yes, to John Wayne, absolutely. But we're all going with Rules of the Game, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah, have to.
Yeah.
Why do you guys love that film so much?
Oh my God!
Where do you begin?
The wit. The wit of that film.
Yeah, but it's
just,
the wit and it's the depth of emotion.
Yeah.
And it's all the various really interesting characters, and it's also real and also politically relevant.
Yeah.
That's what gets me about it. It is a film that is a savage satire of the upper classes, which is why it was banned when it was released, because we're about to head into war, right?
Didn't it?
I think for over 20 years.
Yeah, it didn't come to France until the 50s.
You're sitting there thinking the rabbit hunt, especially that scene.
Yeah.
You're thinking, my God, these are the folks who are leading us, and they're not fighting. They're leading us into war. And they're going to make us fight. And yet, we love these people. Renoir loves these people.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does that. It's a freaking miracle.
Yeah.
I love the part that he himself plays as Octave.
He's wonderful in it.
Yeah, Mr. Everyone Has Their Reasons, the most famous line from the film. But Dalio is great, and even Nora Gregor, who's oh no, was that your?
That was my quote.
Oh no! Think fast, Mr. Moto. You're gonna have to come up with something.
I'm gonna come up with something else in the meantime. Just keep talking.
Come up with something while I do the necrology.
Yeah. All right. So you can do that.
Yes. Just so that everybody knows, the quote I was gonna pick is from Rules of the Game. The awful thing about life is this: everybody has their reasons. Which is one of the most famous quotes ever in movies, and that's why I picked it, because people have been complaining they're too hard.
Well, and even Nora Gregor, who's not much of an actress, is perfect in that part.
Yes.
And what's the actor's name who was also in Gaston Modot, who is in L'Âge d'Or? Is the gamekeeper.
That's right.
And,
he's great.
Great, and everybody is great.
Yeah.
The whole upstairs, downstairs things works without being cliched. And again, that Renoir is able to strike that balance between viciously savaging this ruling class, and yet loving that. He's always referred to as a humanist director, so much so that it's become a cliche. But if you want proof of that, watch Rules of the Game.
Yeah.
Which it's
and don't forget Marcel Dalio.
I did mention him. He's wonderful.
God, I love him.
Building those miniatures and
it's really kind of sad because he escaped France at the beginning of the war, and then he was a big star in France.
Sure.
He never had that
behind the roulette wheel in Casablanca.
That's the thing.
It's just something.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, they never 20,000. he never achieved that kind of notoriety here in the United States. I mean, he constantly worked, but you see him turn up in some pretty awful movies sometimes, and it's really it's sad.
Yeah, so he worked.
Yeah, he worked all the time.
I don't find it sad when anyone works.
You have a point.
And so there you have it, my friends and fans. The 1930s. We begin in unanimity with All Quiet on the Western Front, and we end in unanimity in 1939 with Renoir's Rules of the Game. A formative decade. Hopefully we've thrown some titles your way that you haven't heard of that are worth checking out. I especially, as I said, love some of those pre-code films that you're just completely knocked out that Hollywood put something, with that much explicit sex, violence, etc. out, but they did, and just a fascinating decade. All right, Mike, do we have a short or a long necrology?
6 people. Lena Wertmüller. She died yesterday. First female director to receive an Oscar nomination for Best Director.
Seven Beauties?
Seven Beauties in 1976. Her script was also nominated for Best Original Story and Screenplay.
And Swept Away she did.
Other films include Swept Away,
Great.
The Seduction of Mimi, All Screwed Up, Love and Anarchy. She was an assistant director on 8½.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she got in, I think her best friend was Marcello Mastroianni's wife or something, and that's how she got on the set of that. Her one English language film was The End of the World in Our Usual Bed on a Nightfall of Rain with Candice Bergen, and it was universally panned, and it deserved
Never even heard of that.
It's bad.
Ooh.
It's really, really bad.
But for a while there in the
mid-70s,
mid-70s,
yeah.
she was...
And then she did TV movies. She was political, but no one could quite figure out what her politics were. She received hostile reviews from both Pauline Kael and Molly Haskell, so that kind of... And the pop critic Ellen Willis called her a woman hater who pretends to be a feminist.
Ouch.
But she did receive an honorary Oscar in 2019.
Huh.
Okay, David, and I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly, Gulpilil. Indigenous Australian actor. He made his film debut at age 17 in Walkabout. He was the guy.
He was the young man who leads them. Oh, my goodness.
Also was featured in Mad Dog Morgan with Dennis Hopper. The Last Wave, Crocodile Dundee, Rabbit Proof Fence, and Charlie's Country, which he won the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actor in 2014.
So Aboriginal actor.
Yeah, and he was 68. Huh. Arlene Dahl, 96.
Insert joke here. Go ahead.
Actress of the 40s through 60s.
You have no shame.
In films.
Not a fan.
Neither am I. In films including Journey to the Center of the Earth, Diamond Queen, Slightly Scarlet with Rhonda Fleming, who I would kind of confuse them, and Kisses from My President.
I think Rhonda Fleming was the one that was a little better looking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a little sexier.
In 1951, though, she started writing a syndicated newspaper column called Let's Be Beautiful, and had it for over 2 decades. And also founded a cosmetics and lingerie company, and would later write a syndicated astrology column, as well as numerous books on astrology and beauty. She continued working occasionally on TV through the 70s and 80s, and she was the mother of TV actor Lorenzo Lamas.
She'd been married
to Fernando.
Ooh, Lloyd Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges or Fernando Lamas?
Fernando Lamas.
Ricardo Montalban? Fernando Lamas? Or Lloyd Bridges?
Sir Anthony Sher.
People at home are wondering, what the hell are they talking about?
Was Anthony Sher in any movie?
Yes, he was.
I always think of him as a stage actor.
But he was primarily a classical stage actor. He was closely associated with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Sure. Also wrote 4 novels, 2 plays, and 3 theater diaries, illustrated with his own sketching. He appeared in the films Mrs. Brown as Benjamin Disraeli, Shakespeare in Love as the Doctor, not a big part towards the beginning, and in a movie that I saw that I really liked called Alive and Kicking, a gay romantic drama. On Broadway, he wrote and starred in the one-man show Primo, an account of daily life in an Auschwitz.
That's right, and he was married to Gregory Doran, who the head of the...
Yes.
Yeah, right,
yes.
That's right. Who I've seen a lot of the things that he's directed.
Right.
I don't think I ever got to... Did you ever get to see Cher on stage?
Yeah. Oh, well, a couple times in London, and I saw Primo here. And it was wonderful.
Yeah.
One-man show, excellent. Eddie Mecca, 69.
The Big Ragu!
Yeah, actor known for playing Carmine on Laverne and Shirley. He also appeared in a few small film roles, including A League of Their Own, directed by Penny Marshall, and Dreamgirls.
Okay.
And I almost cry when I think of this.
Aww.
Stephen Sondheim.
Oh, well, let's not even... That's 3 other episodes.
Yeah, but limiting it to movies, he
won the Oscar for the song for Dick Tracy, right?
For Sooner or Later. He won the Academy Award. 4 of his films have been made into movies. A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Into the Woods.
Into the Woods,
Sweeney
Todd, and A Little Night Music. Oh, yeah.
There was a film of Little Night Music?
Yeah, and A Little Night Music is my favorite musical of all time.
I can see that.
And it's on my list as one of the 10 worst movies ever made.
Wow.
I hope somebody remakes that, please.
It came out in the 70s?
76. It was
so
with
not
Elizabeth...
too long after the musical.
Yeah.
So,
It was with Elizabeth Taylor. Harold Prince directed it, who directed the play. And Pauline Kael had the best quip about that movie. Not only does it look like Harold Prince had never directed a movie before, it looked like he had never seen
one, of course.
Before.
Yeah, that sounds like it. And of course, there, Linklater is working on the 20-year project of Merrily We
Roll Along,
yep.
which I think is one of Sondheim's not great shows.
I love it. I never did, and then I saw the revival at Encores with Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Maybe the New York Theater Workshop is doing it. I'm going to try to see it again. They're also working on a film version they've been working on the last couple of years for Follies.
Yeah.
I just don't see that
don't see
happening. They were talking about a film version of that in the 70s, reuniting Betty Davis and Joan Crawford.
Oh, good Lord.
He also wrote a couple of film scores.
Stravinsky, right?
For Stravinsky, for Eileen Renee, and for Warren Beatty's Reds.
I did not know that. I didn't remember that.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And he was just a favorite of mine. That's all
I
can say. I loved him to death.
Anyone who loves musical theater, And
I don't necessarily, but I love Sondheim.
Well, yes, but Sondheim is something else. He's almost like a genre unto himself.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Yeah. Absolutely. In fact, I had just seen the revival of Classic Stage of Assassins.
And I hear it's not that good.
The night before, it was very good. It was not. It was not nearly as good as the 2004 revival that brought it back into everyone's consciousness. And he apparently attended the next night, and
I saw him at the theater 2 nights before he died.
Wow.
Which really creeped me out.
I saw him the 2004 revival of Assassins with Neil Patrick Harris and Michael Cerveris.
No, I saw that too.
I saw him there.
Oh yeah, I saw him more at the theater for other things more than any other celebrity. Usually by himself.
And I understand he shows up as a character in the film of Tick Tick Boom.
Yes.
Miranda's.
And he co-stars with Krusty the Clown in the Simpsons episode.
Awesome.
Where he allowed Sending the Clowns to be rewritten.
There's an amazing South Park episode where he's featured in it, which is not exactly family oriented, but is wonderful, and they pay very loving tribute to him in that.
And he died at 91.
We promise, folks, we're not going to sing Maria.
God, I hope. I know he was working on the musical based on the two Buñuel films.
Yes, Buñuel films. It's called Square One. I don't know how much was finished because he'd been working on it for years.
Because I saw Roadshow or Bounce or Gold, whatever it was called.
I saw it too. I hated it.
Oh my God, that can't be his last word. It can't
I hope not. I got a feeling it won't. They'll drag the songs out and they'll probably add a few. I hope that because he was working on it. He talked about it on Colbert just a month ago.
I mean, he was 91, but still losing him is just... and there's no one irreplaceable. Absolutely irreplaceable.
So he was still working right at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, he was
fine. He went to Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah.
I saw him at the play.
No, I don't... No, well, just going out and enjoying is different from working. And
he was working.
Yeah.
He was...
No, that's...
He loved to work. Oh, and I forgot. He wrote a good screenplay with Anthony Perkins.
That's right.
The Last of Sheila.
Yeah.
That's right. Early 70s, right?
Yeah.
73,
Which is
Herbert
fun.
Ross. He and Perkins had written a couple other scripts, but none of them got produced.
And if you're a James Mason fan, you should see that movie.
Oh, yeah. Last of Sheila, 73, Herbert Ross, good movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
All right, so any necrology that includes Stephen Sondheim is already way too long. So it's inevitable but heartbreaking.
So I promise not to talk so much about him.
He's going to get. He's a little bit verklempt.
We will now. Let's take a
talk among
I went to the theater dimming last night. So thank you for canceling last night. So
I know that at Marie's Crisis and all the piano bars, everyone's been singing Sondheim straight.
And apparently, according to the article in the Taste Times, there are 5,000 people who are online for the lottery for Assassins for like 20 this weekend for 20 seats.
Well worth it. A show that was literally 15, 20 years ahead of its time.
When I saw Assassins, I wanted to say to Sondheim, good show, but did you really think this was going to be a hit? Because you know what it's about.
Yeah.
Presidential assassination.
It's my favorite show of his. But that's
really well. It's a good show. I like it a lot.
He always said never said it was his best show, but he always said that it was the show that was closest to how he conceived it in his mind. That the final product was. And by the way, between the original '91 version with Victor Garber, which never made it to Broadway, and the '04,
it was never even reviewed.
No, the '04, which I was talking about, he made some substantial changes along the way. So, and he always tinkered, and with Merrily too.
It's kind of interesting that doing the lyrics for West Side Story was basically like a milestone in the beginning of his career.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then right after that, he did the lyrics for Gypsy, which is also.
And then 60 years later, it's remade, and he dies.
Yeah, and he liked it. He talked about Colbert.
Yeah.
And he did not like the original, and
neither
did.
No, I didn't.
Arthur Lawrence or Bernstein.
Huh.
The only thing I liked about it was
something about he had objections to the orchestration for some, which I don't quite understand, because you would think he would have say in how it was orchestrated.
I guess he didn't.
Although I don't know, the movie, the music's pretty damn good.
It's my favorite musical ever, but that's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to argue about that in the next podcast.
So, it's better than Music Man, to which it lost the Tony in 1957, which is unthinkable.
And the original didn't make money.
Yeah.
That's the only reason the creators were happy with the movie, is they finally made money from it.
You now own 50% West Side Story. All right, so John, have you spontaneously come up with a new quote?
So the quote from the last episode was...
Right.
I guess when you're young, you just believe there'll be many people with whom you'll connect with. Later in life, you realize it only happens a few times. That was Julie Delpy to Ethan Hawke in Before Sunset, 2004, directed by Richard Linklater. Now, my original quote was, as I said before, the awful thing about life is this: everybody has their reasons from the great, the rules of the game. So the new quote is, you still think it's beautiful to die for your country? The first bombardment taught us better. When it comes to dying for country, it's better not to die at all.
Interesting. I think I know where that's from, but I'll have to check myself before I wreck myself. All right, so if you think you know the answer to that one, check our fabulous website, www.vintagesand.com, lovingly maintained by yours truly, and the source of all kinds of information on the things we talk about here, plus some things that go beyond, and you can find the answer. Check to see if you're right, your answer to John's quote quiz. So, as I mentioned, for our January episode, we're going to do something new for us. We're going to go genre and do a brief, if we possibly can, history of the Hollywood musical, which I think, is easily... I think it's the easiest genre to talk about. It's the most polarizing. There are very few people who like some musicals because it's so artificial. Yeah. It's the genre that's least like life.
Yeah.
And so to try to sell my high school students on it is often a bit of a challenge, except for the theater kids, who immediately dive right in.
Of course.
So we will be starting with Broadway Melody of 1929 and going to
West Side Story.
Which
I liked very, very much. I think it's far superior to the Robert Wise, Jerome Robbins.
We'll save that argument for the next episode.
Hopefully you two will have seen it by then.
Yeah, I will.
I'm going to make it a point to see it.
It's like Life cereal. Hey, Mikey, he likes it. Yeah. So there you go. So
I
doesn't like anything.
I knew I would.
Oh my God!
Because
Prescient.
because I've been very happy with the Tony Kushner, Steven Spielberg collaborations
Lincoln and,
before, and Munich. I knew I would like it better.
Save it for the next episode.
All right, we're saving it for the next.
But I really, people go out and see it at open. Well, whenever
Yeah,
you hear this, it'll be opening. It's wonderful.
All right, and that will be our January episode number 36. Wow, and so we will take this opportunity to remind you that as was, is, and ever will be, Vintage Sand is a 5 9s and a 4 production. We want to thank Melissa for her technical help, Mama Sue for the use of the hall, and Gabby for her cool-ass logo. Remember that we are on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. As I mentioned, please check out the website and leave your feedback at www.vintagesand.com. In the meantime, see everything. There's a lot of good stuff out there now.
A lot of good stuff.
Safe, wonderful holiday, celebrating whatever holidays you do, and not to get cheesy on y'all, but let's be grateful that I'm grateful that you guys are still here and that we're still doing this
still
and
healthy.
At the end of 2021, knocking on
Same
whatever.
here.
And we wish that for you, all 8 members of our audience, and as ever, we also hope fervently that your favorite films will always be streaming.